All right, so in this first problem, we are asked, does the equation 2x plus 3y equals negative 15 represent a linear function? And then if it does, find the slope and the y-intercept. So we've got 2x plus 3y equals negative 15. So here's the characteristics of a linear function. Okay, linear means it represents a line. Okay, so does this represent a line? Well, here are the attributes that make this a linear function. There is an x and a y, and then they only have a power of 1. There are no products of x's and y's. There's nothing else. So here's my x. What's the power on the x? Well, remember, when there is no power, it is implied that there is a 1. You can write it if you want, if it helps you remember. That's x to the first. And there's a y with no power. That's y to the first. So this is indeed a linear function. This is called the standard form of a linear function. So this is the standard form All right, so then now that we know that it's a linear function and we've identified that, how do we find the slope and the y-intercept? Well, the way we find the slope and the y-intercept is we solve for y. We get it in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to take this equation and I'm going to solve for y. All right, so first thing I'm going to do, if I'm going to get the y by itself, is I have to move the 2x over there. So think to yourself, how am I going to get the 2x from this side of the equation to that side of the equation? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract it. So I'm going to, let me rewrite the equation here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract the 2x from both sides. Now, that leaves me 3y is equal to, these are not like terms, so I have negative 2x minus 15. Then the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to divide by 3 on both sides. And so I end up with y is equal to, now remember the distributive property applies for division, just like multiplication. So I'm going to distribute the 3, so I have negative 2 over 3, x, and then negative 15 over 3 becomes negative 5. Now, what's the slope? The slope is always the number in front of the x, so my slope, my m, is equal to negative 2 over 3. And then what's my y-intercept? The y-intercept is always this number, and I'm going to write it as a point, 0, negative 5. Sorry, got a little crunch there. It's a linear function. There's your slope and y-intercept.